and welcome. You're watching News on the Hour this Friday morning, and over the course of the next 1 hour, we'll get you all the news from across the nation, international sports and business headlines. There's a lot making it to the headlines this morning. We'll get you all of that. I'm Nancy Kohli. First, a look at the headlines. Campaigning gains momentum for next phase of assembly elections in poll-bound states and Union Territory. Prime Minister Modi to address election rallies in Tamil Nadu and Kerala today, while the senior BJP leader Amit Shah to campaign in West Bengal. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi to campaign for her party in Assam. Vaccination campaign across the country continues on a war footing. So far, more than 6.87 lakh people have been vaccinated. Now the vaccination will also be done on government holidays. The Cabinet Secretary to hold a meeting with the Chief Secretaries of the states and the Union Territories to take stock of COVID-19 situation in the country. Good news for the economy. Our exports grew by 58% in March this year. The exports reached $34 billion, while the GST revenue collection set a new record in March with gross GST revenue of 1,23,902 crores recovered in March. Indian IT professionals get relief after the expiry of the US H-1B visa ban period. Former President Donald Trump had banned the H-1B visa till 31st of March this year. In sports news, world number 1 Ashley Barty reaches Miami Open final. Barty defeats Elina Svitolina 6-3, 6-3 in the semi-finals. Good Friday being observed across the globe today. Prime Minister Modi remembers the struggles and the sacrifices of Jesus Christ on this day. And first up, the election campaign is gaining momentum for the third phase of assembly elections in Assam and West Bengal, and also for the single phase elections in Kerala, Tamil Nadu as well as the Union Territory of Puducherry. The single-phase polling in Kerala, Tamil Nadu along with the Union Territory of Puducherry will take place on the 6th of this month. The third phase polling in Assam and West Bengal will also take place on the 6th of April. Meanwhile, the leaders of all political parties are crisscrossing the states to woo the voters. In Tamil Nadu, Prime Minister Modi will address an election rally along with the Chief Minister E. Palaniswamy, the Deputy Chief Minister O. Selvam and other leaders of the National Democratic Alliance parties in Madurai today. Prime Minister Modi will also hold a rally in Konni in Pathanamthitta district. In Kerala, Prime Minister Modi will be addressing 2 election rallies in Konni and Thiruvananthapuram. And let's now go across to our correspondent Abhishek Jha, who's joining us from Kanyakumari this morning. Abhishek, good morning. First of all, give us a sense of how the election scenario really in the state is panning out, because of course leaders cutting across party lines are making the last-ditch efforts to woo the voters. But give us a sense of what the electorate is feeling right now. What issues are topping their minds?
So, Nancy, the issues of development, issues of infrastructural development, connectivity, job employment, issues of farmers, these are the major issues that have been in the center stage for Tamil Nadu election. Now, in the last, leg of campaigning, Prime Minister is trying to woo the voters. On 30th of last month, he has done a rally in Dharampura in favor of BJP President Al Murugan, and now here in Kanyakumari and including Kanyakumari, 4 rallies are planned for Prime Ministers today. Yesterday, he also had a visit in Madurai Meenakshi temple that has a very social connect with the people of Madurai, and of course, there's a religious place as well. Talking about Kanyakumari, Kanyakumari is special because parliamentary elections are also being held in Kanyakumari because the seat was the last Congress MP, Vasanta Kumar, had died due to corona last year, and the seat is now vacant, and his son Vijay Kumar has been given ticket from Congress side, while BJP has again banked upon Pon Radhakrishnan, who has been contesting the seat for last 3 terms. So Prime Minister will be seeking vote in favor of Pon Radhakrishnan as well, who's been former minister, but last time he could not win this seat, and Congress Vasanta Kumar made his way. Meanwhile, talking about the state elections, of course 10 years of AIDMK's ruling is one of the key area where every party, every candidate of the AIDMK is focusing, and BJP is also part of that alliance of larger AIDMK BJP alliance. However, BJP is contesting on merely 25 seats. But still, Prime Minister's visit in this area and his appeal seeking votes in favor of NDA candidates is something that is going to sway voter turnout certainly, and there will have some impact, because the Prime Minister has an kind of iconic image in this region also, and people irrespective of the party line, they have this appeal of a nationalist leader, which is the Prime Minister Modi. So how that iconic image of Prime Minister will actually work in turning the voter turnout in favor of AIDMK, that we'll have to see. However, DMK party leaders and major senior DMK party leaders, Stalin and other, they have been also campaigning very aggressively in the Kanyakumari and nearby areas, and in the last few days, the heat of campaign has actually gone up.
All right, Abhishek Jha, thanks very much for sharing all those details and putting all these developments into perspective for us as far as the assembly elections there are concerned. Thanks very much. Now moving on, the election campaign for the third and the fourth phases in West Bengal has also reached its peak today, as senior leaders of the BJP and the Trinamool Congress will be locking horns in the same districts of North Bengal. Senior BJP leader and the Union Home Minister Amit Shah is scheduled to visit the state today. He'll address 2 rallies at Sitalkuchi in Cooch Behar and Kalchini in Alipurduar. Amit Shah will also hold 2 road shows at Baraipur, west of South 24 Parganas, and Arambagh of Hooghly in the afternoon. And let's now go across to our correspondent Prasenjit Bakshi, who's joining us from Kolkata this morning. Prasenjit, of course, when we saw the elections yesterday, the Nandigram being the prestige fight there clearly between the BJP and the TMC, and of course then the face-off that took place in Nandigram there. Just take us through really the high-stakes battle there that we are seeing really unveiling itself, each day, and really leaders leaving no stone unturned to woo the voters there of the state.
Right. Till yesterday, the entire Nancy, the focus was centralized and concentrated on Nandigram. But now the point is that one interesting development is that Home Minister, a senior BJP leader Amit Shah, and Trinamool Congress leader Mamata Banerjee will be in the same districts today. Mamata Banerjee will also be in Cooch Behar and Alipurduar. When Amit Shah is the first half of the day, he will be in Cooch Behar and Alipurduar, the place of which we call Duars area. That is the area of tea gardens, that is the area of forest region, mixed match population, small hill region also. So that is a very typical of North Bengal Duars area. So they will be focusing on there. But at the same time, there are certain places left in south of the Bengal for the third phase of polling, where Amit Shah will be visiting. As you have mentioned, he will be coming to Hooghly, Arambagh of Hooghly, and Baraipur of South 24 Parganas. So, but Mamata Banerjee has shifted her base from south of Bengal to North Bengal. She will be touring North Bengal for the next couple of days. And at the same time, leaders like Smriti Irani, leaders like, and actor turned leader like Mithun Chakravarti, BJP is using these popular faces very frequently and extensively for their electoral campaign, and they will be in different parts of south and north of Bengal. So we must say that though Nandigram is over, though the 60 constituencies are over, but there are still 234 constituencies are left. A huge amount of polling are left in the next 6 phases. So obviously, I must say that campaign will be at its peak.
Absolutely. West Bengal, Prasenjit, has seen one of the keenly contested elections there, and all eyes are on West Bengal because of the high stakes battle that's at play in the state there. Just give us a sense of the high profile candidates that we're looking at in these elections, and also what's really at stake for both the sides, the BJP and the TMC.
Look, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah with the other BJP leaders, they are campaigning from the initial days that this is very important for them or for the people of West Bengal, that that is a double engine government, whatever they are calling it, or whatever they are, their narrative is created, that is the government of the same political party at the center and at the state level. It is very interesting to see that in the last 1977, since today, there is a contrasting government in West Bengal, a different party in power in West Bengal and a different party apart from the a few years of UPA one government when CPIM was part of the government. But apart from that, there was a confrontation between the interest of state government and the central government. So this is the basic focal point of BJP, that you elect us, there will be a double engine government and development will be at peak. But at the same time, Trinamool has a stake on a high level because they have to retain power for the third consecutive term. It is very important for their existence, very important for other issues also. So they have also they are also trying their best to retain power. And as you said, that both the parties are at loggerhead. And on the other hand, I must conclude by saying this, that the United Front, which is created by Left Front, Congress, and the Indian Secular Front, they are also claiming that they are coming to power. So if so, then obviously in a lighter tone, the state assembly should have 600 seats, because everybody is claiming that they are getting 200 plus seats in West Bengal assembly. So whatever it is a very tough battle this time in West Bengal.
Absolutely. Prasenjit Bakshi, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and bringing all these developments from West Bengal into perspective for us. Thanks very much for those inputs. Now, the leaders of the Sanyukt Morcha are also scheduled to address rallies to voters. The Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi will address election rallies in Assam for the third phase of assembly elections to be taking place on the 6th of April. And let's now move on, get you updates now on the nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive. The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country has crossed 6.87 crore. A total of 6,87,89,138 vaccinations have so far been given, out of which 5,91,48,798 were vaccinated for first dose and 96,40,340 beneficiaries received the second dose of the vaccine. A total of 36,71,242 vaccine doses were given on the 76th day of the nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive on Thursday. And let's now take a look at all the COVID-19 updates from across the country. Well, as per the Union Health Ministry, 50,356 recoveries were recorded in the last 24 hours, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 1,15,25,039. With this, the recovery rate currently stands at 93.68%. India's total active caseload stands at over 6.14 lakh today. The country's present active caseload consists of 5% of the total positive cases. The fertility rate stands at 1.33%. In India, the testing for COVID-19 is being conducted regularly. The country has so far tested more than 24 crore, 59,12,587 people. And as per the Indian Council of Medical Research, the ICMR, 11,13,966 samples were tested yesterday. Now, Gujarat government has made the RT-PCR negative report mandatory for all the passengers travelling to the state from other states. This announcement was made by the government in view of the rising cases of COVID-19 in the state. And as per the latest travel guidelines, the passengers flying to Gujarat must present a negative RT-PCR report not older than 72 hours upon arrival. The checkpoints to verify the report have been set up at the airports, railway stations, as well as bus stops apart from the state borders. And amid the worsening COVID-19 situation, the Western Railway has announced that the services of the Ahmedabad-Mumbai-Ahmedabad Tejas Express will be suspended for a month with effect from today. The railway authorities had resumed the services of Mumbai Central Ahmedabad Tejas Express regularly 4 days a week from 14th February this year. Now, in a significant step to exponentially expand the countrywide vaccination drive, the centre has decided to operationalize both public and private sector COVID-19 vaccination centres on all the days this month. The centre has written to all the states and the union territories and asked them to make the necessary arrangements to provide COVID-19 vaccination in these centres on all days of the month, including the gazetted holidays. The government has already decided to start the COVID-19 vaccination of all people above 45 years of age. Moving on now, in Gujarat's Gir National Park, more than 400 water points have been installed due to soaring temperatures in the part of the country. The park has been established to protect the endangered Asiatic lions. The Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar, took to Twitter to express his happiness over the news. He said the water points will ensure that there is no water scarcity for the animals due to the rise in temperature in Gujarat. Now, the Indian Army will participate in the multinational military exercise, namely the Shantir Ogro Sena 2021 in Bangladesh. The 9 days exercise will start on the 4th of this month to commemorate the birth centenary of Bangladesh father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and mark glorious 50 years of liberation. The Indian Army contingent comprising 30 personnel from the Dogra Regiment will participate in the exercise along with the contingents of Bhutan, Sri Lanka and the Bangladesh armies. The theme of the exercise is robust peacekeeping operations. The military observers from the US, UK, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and Singapore will also be in attendance throughout the exercise. Now, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will visit on the 5th of this month, and this will be the first high-level visit from Russia to India this year. During his 2-day visit, the Russian Foreign Minister will hold talks with the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Both the leaders will also discuss bilateral relations apart from other issues. Earlier this year, India's Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla was on a visit to Moscow, during which he extended an invitation for the Russian Foreign Minister to visit India. The Union Government has approved the 780 crore rupee project for the upgradation of the Kargil-Zanskar road. The 2-lane Kargil-Zanskar NH 301 road is sanctioned under the EPC mode. Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari has approved the upgradation of the 780 crore project. The Zanskar-Kargil road was declared the national highway in 2017 by the centre. Now, this road from the Zanskar Valley also connects the Suru Valley, Sanku Valley of the Kargil Ladakh with the highway. The road will be a key for economic development of the remote region of Ladakh. And moving on now, in the reenactment of the Dandi March currently on, the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan also joined the Padyatra at the Chapra Bhata and walked with the participants for about 3 kilometers. Gandhi ji walked on the salt satyagraha from Sabarmati to Dandi from the 12th of March to 2nd of April 1930.
On the morning of April 1st, 1930, Mahatma Gandhi moved from Delar towards Bhata. Following in the footsteps of Gandhiji, the Padyatris involved in the Dandi Yatra are moving towards Bhata. The Gujarat police are welcoming the Padyatris with drums and bands. Surat Police Commissioner Ajay Tomar himself coming forward to greet the Padyatris.
आज़ादी के लिए जिन लोगों ने अनेक प्रयत्न किए, भगीरथ प्रयत्न किए, उन सभी की याद में और बापू गांधी की याद में यात्रा का आयोजन किया गया है। आज़ादी की लड़ाई जिस भावना से लड़ी गई थी, उस भावना को आज फिर रिफ्रेश करने का, तरोताज़ा करने का, फिर से याद करने का अवसर है। राष्ट्र प्रेम की भावना लोगों में, खासतौर पे युवा पीढ़ी में बढ़े, मेरी यही शुभकामनाएं हैं।
Mahatma Gandhi had reached Chapra Bhata at 9 in the morning. Kaka Saheb Kalelkar, Mahadev Bhai Desai and Mohan Lal Pandya had met Mahatma Gandhi there. Over 100 people came here to meet Mahatma Gandhi, including many mill owners. Here, Gandhiji saw 3 sisters cleaning and mopping the street. Later in his address, he had asked the villagers to emphasize on cleanliness within and outside. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan participated in the Dandi Yatra at Chapra Bhata, covering a distance of 3 kilometers. The Chief Minister said that the country is moving forward with Mahatma Gandhi's dream of self-reliant India.
महात्मा गांधी के साथ बाद में गांव-गांव में भारत के, हमारे देश के निकल पड़े थे लाखों लोग नमक सत्याग्रह करने, और अंत में 1931 में गांधी इरविन समझौता हुआ था। अंग्रेजी साम्राज्य हिल गया था। गांधी जी ने अंग्रेजी साम्राज्य को हिलाया था। लेकिन आज मैं इस अमृत महोत्सव के कार्यक्रम के अवसर पर आपसे निवेदन करने आया हूं कि हमें देश की खातिर नमक का फर्ज अदा करना है।
Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister also said that several people sacrificed their lives for the country, which played a vital role in India's freedom from British Raj. With inputs from Dheeraj in Surat, Bureau Report, TD India.
And with that, we're going in for a short break here on News on the Hour. But after we come back, we'll get you all the news from across the globe. Stay with us.
Kitchen waste, green waste, dried leaves from the garden, which are a source of carbon.
The money we received from the government added to our savings all went into the rice mill. I was into athletics before going in for judo, which really attracted me. It is a wonderful sport for girls and very beneficial.
Welcome back after the break, and in news from across the globe now, the US President Joe Biden has allowed a ban on the H-1B and other kinds of foreign work visas to expire, bringing to a close a clampdown on the legal immigration put in place by his predecessor Donald Trump in June last year as part of its response to COVID-19 pandemic. The move is considered to be a big relief for thousands of Indian IT professionals. In December last year, Donald Trump had extended the ban order to 31st of March this year, saying that an extension is needed as the pandemic continued to disrupt Americans' lives and high levels of unemployment and job loss and serious economic challenges to workers across the U.S. Joe Biden had promised to lift the suspension on the H-1B visa, saying Trump's immigration policies were cruel. And US President Joe Biden on Thursday said he would tap 5 of his cabinet members to explain his $2 trillion jobs and infrastructure plan to Congress and the public. At his first cabinet meeting, Biden said the 5 people would be the Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Labor, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary of Transportation, Secretary of Energy.
I am announcing that I'm asking 5 cabinet members to take special responsibility to explain the plan to the American public. Working with my team here in the White House, these cabinet members will represent me in dealing with Congress, engage the public in selling the plan, and help work out the details as we refine it and move forward. These 5 members will be Pete Buttigieg, Jennifer Granholm, Marcia Fudge, Marty Walsh, and Gina Raimondo. And I want to thank them in advance for the role they're going to play for this added assignment I'm asking them to take on.
Now, the White House on Thursday said it was incredibly alarmed by a video released by U.S. Border Patrol showing 2 toddlers being dropped over a 14-foot border fence. A video showed 2 young girls being dropped into New Mexico by 2 adults who later ran up a hill on the Mexican side of the border.
I've seen the video, and I think any of us who saw the video were incredibly alarmed by the steps of smugglers, ones that we have been quite familiar with, that we've spoken out about our concerns about. As Secretary Mayorkas said, the inhumane way smugglers abuse children while profiting off parents' desperation is criminal and morally reprehensible. The President certainly agrees with that. And these kids, I believe, were rescued by individuals who are working at the border.
An update now on the shooting in California. The police there said that the 44-year-old man who carried out the shooting knew the victims. 4 people, including a 9-year-old boy, a man and 2 women were killed in shooting on Wednesday. Another woman and the shooter were then hospitalized. The shooter said he entered an office complex of a business called the Unified Homes on Wednesday afternoon and locked the gates to a courtyard behind him with a bicycle lock. The authorities recovered a semi-automatic handgun and a backpack containing pepper spray, handcuffs and ammunition that they believe belonged to the suspect.
The preliminary motive is believed to be related to a business and personal relationship, which existed between the suspect and all of the victims. It appears all of the adults were connected either by business or a personal relationship, and this was not a random act of violence. The child is believed to be the son of one of the victims who worked at the business.
Moving on now, paramedic Derek Smith, who treated George Floyd, said that the American hip-hop artist was not breathing and had no pulse when he arrived at the scene of his deadly arrest last May in testimony on Thursday at the murder trial of former policeman Derek Chauvin. By the time Smith arrived, Chauvin had been pressing his knee into the neck of Floyd for about 9 minutes, a scene that ignited global protests against police brutality. Chauvin has pleaded not guilty to murder and manslaughter charges. And there's news just coming in from Taiwan, where at least 36 people have died and around several others injured when a train derailed in a tunnel in the eastern region of the country. The deadly accident occurred when the train apparently hit a truck. The train traveling to Taitung was carrying around 350 passengers. Now, Taiwan's fire department said that between 80 to 100 people have been evacuated from the first 4 carriages of the train, while carriages 5 to 8 have deformed and are hard to gain access. Taiwan's railway administration said that those in carriages still in the tunnel were being led to safety and the rescue operation is still underway. terrible tragedy there taking place in Taiwan. Moving on now, getting the updates now on the situation in Myanmar, where the lawyers of Myanmar's ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi and detained President Win Myint on Thursday said that both the leaders appeared in good health during a court hearing, but it was not clear if they were aware of the current situation in the country. The hearing has now been adjourned till the 12th of April. Suu Kyi and Win Myint were arrested hours before the military's first February coup. And India has in fact condemned the violence in Myanmar. In his remarks in closed meeting at the UNSC on Myanmar, India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador T.S. Tirumurti, condoled over the loss of lives and urged maximum restraint. He also reiterated India's steadfast commitment to democratic transition. The Indian envoy also demanded the release of the detained leaders. He also welcomed the ASEAN efforts. Tirumurti added that the situation is to be resolved peacefully. There is a need for a greater engagement and meeting the hopes and the aspirations of the people, and also extending resistance to Rakhine State Development Program. And in more news now from around the world, the Hungarian right-wing nationalist Prime Minister Viktor Orban and Polish ally Mateusz Morawiecki on Thursday met Matteo Salvini, that's leader of Italy's League Party, in Hungary's capital Budapest to try to lay the groundwork for a new European political grouping. The Hungarian Prime Minister said millions of people are currently left without a representation and the voice in European politics. He even said that the leaders spoke about their common values of representing liberty, dignity, Christianity, family and national sovereignty. Now, Egypt's Suez Canal Authority on Thursday released the drone footage of the Ever Given ship. That's days after it was freed from blocking navigation in the key maritime passage for 6 days. The divers inspected the hull of the Ever Given on Wednesday as the man tasked with investigating how the giant container ship ran aground, choking off international trade through the Suez Canal, boarded the vessel. The 6-day blockade threw global supply chains into disarray after 400-meter-long ship became jammed diagonally across a southern section of the canal. And with that, we're going in for another short break here, but there's still much more coming up here on News on the Hour. Stay with us.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Muy
India.
Nahnu hunud.
India.
Ma Hindi hasti.
Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in Middle East countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite Gst 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite Gsat 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back after the break here on News on the Hour. A look now at all the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. The cases of COVID-19 globally has crossed the 13 crore mark. More than 13 crore 1 lakh people worldwide have contracted COVID-19 so far, while over 10 crore 48 lakh have also recovered from the virus. The deadly virus has so far claimed more than 28 lakh 40,000 lives globally. The US still remains the worst affected country by COVID-19. The country has reported more than 3 crore 12 lakh COVID-19 cases. Over 5 lakh 66,000 fatalities have also been reported in the US so far. Now, the theme parks in Southern California have in fact begun reopening on Thursday after a closure of nearly a year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Six Flags Magic Mountain, 30 miles north of Los Angeles, was one of the first to open its doors, with excited thrill seekers eager to get on the rides, while these parks have been permitted with severely limited capacity. In more news now, Chile will close its borders for the month of April to slow the spread of the virus and stop the influx of its variants. The officials would close the South American country's border beginning on the 5th of April to both Chileans and the foreign residents of the country, with exceptions only in emergencies. No foreign tourists will be allowed into the country. The cases in Chile continue to soar despite one of the world's fastest vaccination rates. On Thursday, the country reported 7,830 cases, since that's the single day high in a day. Chile has already inoculated more than 35% of its population. While the US has edged closer to the milestone of 100 million people being vaccinated for COVID-19 on Thursday, the data was reported by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Representing 30% of the nation's population, the tally includes people who have received at least one dose of vaccine, as well as those who have been fully vaccinated. As of Thursday afternoon, over 99 million people had received at least one dose of vaccine, and over 56 million people were fully vaccinated. Now, a 2-week curfew began in the Cambodian capital of Phnom Penh on Thursday to contain the spread of COVID-19. While people there are barred from traveling into or out of the city between 8 at night and 5 in the morning, except in certain cases. Cambodia began its vaccination program last month. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said the situation in France due to COVID-19 is very sad. He said their experience had shown that the virus usually hit the UK a few weeks after it hit France. Now, the daily new COVID-19 infections in France have doubled since February to average nearly 40,000. The number of COVID-19 patients in intensive care has breached the 5,000 this week, exceeding the peak hit during the 6-week second lockdown enforced late last year. French President Emmanuel Macron on Wednesday had ordered France into its third national lockdown and said schools would close for 3 weeks as he sought to push back a third wave of COVID-19 infections that threatens to overwhelm the hospitals. With the death toll nearing 100,000, the intensive care units in the hardest hit regions is at a breaking point and a slower than planned vaccine rollout. Moving on now, in some other news, lava from Guatemala's restive Pacaya volcano on Wednesday moved towards local villages, attracting a crowd in the San Vicente Pacaya who congregated around to see the bush catching fire from its intense heat. According to Guatemala's Met body, it burned through local vegetation and destroyed a home in the El Patrocinio village. The residents there have been advised to stay alert, but no mass evacuations have so far been ordered. Now, Good Friday is being observed today. It is observed to commemorate the day of crucifixion of Jesus. On this day, Jesus Christ sacrificed his life out of love for everyone and while suffering for the sins of humanity. On the occasion of Good Friday, people wish one another strength and happiness. The Easter celebration will begin on the following Sunday, on the 4th of April. And Prime Minister Modi has remembered Jesus Christ on Good Friday today. In a tweet, the Prime Minister has said, and I quote, "Good Friday reminds us about the struggles and the sacrifices of Jesus Christ. A perfect embodiment of compassion, he was devoted to serving the needy and healing the sick," unquote. Now, Pope Francis began 3 hectic days leading to the Easter with the Holy Thursday Mass. The Holy Thursday is the day the Christians commemorate the day Jesus instituted the priesthood. The traditional Mass of the Christmas in the secondary part of St. Peter's Basilica for about 200 people instead of the nearly 10,000 that have filled the church for similar ceremonies in pre-COVID times. Pope Francis blessed oil that will be used in church sacraments and led cardinals, bishops and about 75 priests in the renewal of their vows. Pope Francis is due to preside at 2 services today, the day Christians commemorate the crucifixion, and one on the Holy Saturday. Now, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has urged Germans on Thursday to celebrate the Easter quietly, reducing contacts and not travel unless absolutely necessary to try to stop a third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Merkel said in a video message that this was the only way to help the doctors and the nurses fighting the virus.
It should be a quiet Easter, with those closest to you, with very reduced contact. I urge you to refrain from all non-essential travel and that we hold to all rules consequently. April will bring us great step ahead in vaccinations. Delivery amounts will increase steadily, and right after Easter, general practitioners will be able to give vaccinations too.
Now in France, the Catholic leaders held a mass in Paris's iconic Notre Dame Cathedral on Thursday ahead of Good Friday and Easter. Paris bishop led the ceremony. The second year it has been closed to the devotees there as France continues to battle COVID-19. Although the Paris region has been in lockdown since mid-March, the French are allowed to visit the places of worship, but public gatherings of more than 6 people are banned. From the Easter Sunday, France will enter a third lockdown period to curb the growing numbers of COVID-19 infections and hospitalizations, mostly attributed by the health authorities to the spread of variants. And let's now move on, get your health story of the day today. And today we are focusing on the World Autism Awareness Day, which is being observed today. Let's take a look at this report to understand more about autism. That's a neurodevelopmental disorder.
Autism spectrum disorder is a lifelong developmental condition that affects the behavior, social skills and communication. Persons with autism have difficulties in social interactions, communication and can engage in repetitive behaviors. Awareness about autism is must.
Today is a World Autism Awareness Day. This whole month of April is Autism Awareness Month. Autism is a neurodevelopmental condition. If by 1 year of age the child does not respond to name, doesn't start babbling, by 14 months does not indicate liking in the form of a toy or in the form of a plane or any helicopter or any fan, or if is not started speaking a word by 16 months, or is pretends to be deaf, or when you ask what is your name will repeat the question itself. There may be some language milestones may have been attained which may have regressed. So in all these situations one should always contact a pediatrician.
Autism spectrum disorder begins in early childhood and eventually causes problems functioning in society. Often, children show symptoms of autism within the first year of life.
All the children are not going to have all the symptoms, and the severity of the symptoms will vary. So we have to identify them early, and then we have a mainstay treatment is family-centric behavioral therapy, and we have to understand that we'll individualize the behavior pattern problem according to the problems of the child based on applied behavior analysis, structured teaching and sensory integration. An individualized plan is made for the child. Then we start making the child understand commands and making him trainable, and try to put him in the mainstream school, so inclusion in society. And then we have to address the issues of a growing child, adolescent issues, and then about the job opportunities. We should understand that all these children have different capabilities, and we should help and encourage to maximize their basic potential.
The quality of life of many children and adults can be significantly improved by an early diagnosis and appropriate evidence-informed treatment. Assistive technology can reduce or eliminate the barriers to their participation on an equal basis with others. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
And let's now get you some business news now. While India's merchandise exports in March this year were $34 billion as compared to $21.4 billion in March last year. That's an increase of 58.23%. The major commodities of the export that recorded positive growth during March this year as compared to March last year. And there's another good news. The GST revenue collection for March this year has set a new record with the highest ever collection of 1,23,902 crore rupees. The GST revenue collected in the last month is 27% higher than that collected in March last year. The Finance Ministry has informed that the GST revenues of March are the highest since the introduction of the Goods and Services Tax in the country. Now, during the month, the revenues from import of goods was 70% higher, and the revenues from domestic transaction are 17% higher than the revenues from these sources during the same month last year. The centre has said that the GST revenues crossed about 1 lakh crore rupee mark at a stretch for the last 6 months, and a steep increasing trend over this period are clear indicators of rapid economic recovery post the pandemic.
मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में भारत सरकार ने जो आपदा के समय अवसर ढूंढने का काम किया, एक तरफ रिफॉर्म्स लाए, दूसरी तरफ व्यापारियों को मदद करने का काम किया, आम आदमी की सहायता की, अन्न और धन की कमी नहीं छोड़ी, व्यापार चलते रहें इसके लिए ECLGS स्कीम के माध्यम से 3 लाख करोड़ रुपया भी दिया, अलग अलग योजनाओं के माध्यम से 29 लाख करोड़ रुपए का पैकेज लेकर आए। उसका लाभ ये देखने को मिला कि पिछले साल अक्टूबर, नवंबर, दिसंबर तीनों महीनों में 1 लाख से ज़्यादा की GST कलेक्शन हुई। इस साल के जनवरी में 1,20,000 करोड़ के लगभग हुई, तो मार्च में 1,23,900 करोड़ से ज़्यादा की कलेक्शन होना अपने आप में दिखाता है कि भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था पटरी पर आ रही है, तेजी के साथ रिकवरी हो रही है।
And moving on now to news on the US stocks now. The S&P 500 finished above the 4,000 mark for the first time in history, powered by tech giants like Microsoft, Amazon and Alphabet, amid general economic optimism about a recovering US economy. Unofficially, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.53% to end at 33,155 points, while the S&P 500 gained 1.19% to 4,020 points. The Nasdaq Composite climbed 1.76% to 13,480 points. And let's now move on, get you all the sports news now. Well, world number 1 tennis player Australia's Ashley Barty reached the finals of the Miami Open. Barty defeated Ukraine's Elina Svitolina in straight sets 6-3, 6-3 in the semi-finals, with 7 aces and 27 winners. Now, England beat Poland 2-1 with the help of a winning goal by Harry Maguire in the last moments of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. In this match played at the Wembley Stadium, Poland presented a tough challenge to England, but Maguire scored the goal 5 minutes before the end of the match to rescue England. The 2023 Women's World Cup will be spread across 9 cities in Australia and New Zealand. The opening match will take place at the Eden Park in Auckland, with Sydney Stadium Australia hosting the finals. The 2 semi-final matches will be split between Australia and New Zealand. While that format is similar to other World Cup tournaments in other sports, including most recently in 2015, when Australia and New Zealand shared hosting of the Cricket World Cup. It will be the first of a kind World Cup co-hosted by the members of different confederations. Australia joined the Asian Confederation after qualifying for the 2006 Men's World Cup, leaving New Zealand as the largest member of the Oceania Confederation. And in some more news now, well, in Berlin, preparations are on in full swing for the Easter. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this year's Easter will be a subdued one. Like every year, a local in Berlin put several thousand Easter celebrations on the trees and the garden around their house, while the neighbors stand and admire the decorations, which are vibrant and give a complete festive look. To restrict a third wave of COVID-19, Berlin is set to impose a nighttime ban on the gatherings from today. In Egypt, as many as 22 ancient prominent mummies will be moved from the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir to their final resting place in the National Egyptian Museum of Civilization in Fustat on Saturday. The mummies, that include 18 kings and 4 queens, mainly belong to the New Kingdom and are up to 3,000 years old. The travel route has been lined out with the lights and banners, and security has been intensified ahead of the large event, which is dubbed as the Pharaoh's Golden Parade. And moving on now, well, in a Thai zoo, the tigers were fed frozen chicken popsicles and enticed to splash in a wading pool this week as the temperatures hit the sweltering levels. As many as 50 big cats live at the Tiger Kingdom Park in Chiang Mai in north of Bangkok. Thailand's hot season began at the end of February, and temperatures are expected to rise as high as 35 degrees Celsius. And with that, it's a wrap on News on the Hour for now. But before we go, we are leaving you with some visuals now. While Easter will be observed this Sunday, and ahead of the day, the London Zoo held its annual Easter egg hunt for monkeys and meerkats. So before we wrap up this edition of News on the Hour, we are leaving you with the adorable visuals there of the black-capped squirrel monkeys and meerkats rushing to extract treats hidden for them in the Easter eggs hanging from the branches in their enclosures. Take a look. And with that, it's a wrap on News on the Hour for now. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll see you then. And we also wish you a great and a safe day and weekend ahead. Thanks for being with us.